Like whatever he needs, he gets in order because he just happens to do it because he's Superman. He gets to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. No, and like I think it is cool that Darkseid exists and that he doesn't need he needs some backup on that because Darkseid is both smart and powerful, right? He's sort of Lex Luthor to the next level, if you will.
Right.
Like the war world, even Superman can't stop the war world. He needs help to construct a plan or what have you. But I will say, right, like Mr. Freeze, no problem for Superman.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze is going
definitely not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chill out. And he's like, no. Like,
I was like, why don't you?
Just a reminder, this is a spoiler-heavy podcast. Different series that require a spoiler warning will be in the description. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gaming Theater Podcast. Today's episode is going to be a little different than what we normally do. This is a small series that we're doing called Exploring Canons. And in this case, we sort of go over different canons of media and storylines and explore certain more of topics and debates aspects of these episodes for it. So we're more of trying to discuss instead of exploring the history or logic of this, and more of exploring the canon of it and how it relates to the topic at hand. Today's episode is going to be all about, does your superhero need to be in this superhero world's canon? So does your superhero actually need to be here for the most part? That being said, though, before I get started to explore this topic, I'm going to introduce us to several guests. As always, my name is Leo. I'm the Geek Scorpio, and I'll be your host this evening during this topic. Now, over to my right is going to be...
Hey, how's it going? My name is Matt. I am a co-host of a podcast called Debate This, and I met Leo a couple of years ago, and he was like, hey, come be my friend, and here I am.
That's the short end of it, and it's amazing. All right. Next to their side is going to be our buddy...
Hi, my name is Dane. I go by DandDaine pretty much everywhere on the internet. I stream on Twitch, mostly sub creation for tabletop role-playing games as well as video games. So that's your jam. Check me out. You've probably heard my voice on other GTP podcasts. Been here a bit.
All right. And last but not least, someone who's also been to the podcast every so often.
Hey everybody, my name's Ben. I go by El Penguin. You can usually find me gamer-wise. My username is El Penguin, but everywhere else I'm usually go by El Penguin Gym. I usually do things involving nerdy fitness, professional wrestling, and just trying to make the world a better place by being a buff nerd.
All right. Now, before we get started, let's take a quick trip over to the magical merch booth. Yay!
Woo!
Yeah, hey, I'm from a podcast called Debate This.
Here we are on the
you can
Magical
find
Merch
us
Booth.
everywhere
Now, today,
if you search for
let's
Debate
see,
This,
let-
but put
we
an
have to-
exclamation point on
let's
the
hear our
end
buddy
because
Matt
it
to let
helps.
us know about our
You can
podcast.
also find us on socials and stuff at Debate This Cast. We are a comedy podcast about comic books and video games where we debate silly questions that nobody is asking. We have an episode that probably the most recent episode by the time this podcast comes out that is all about what video game character should lead your company's new healthcare initiative. Is that a great topic for a podcast? No, not really, but we did it anyway. Other things have been like, what color Yoshi is the best and who is the best cat in all of video games. So if that is your kind of thing, just like pedantic conversations where we pretty much only cite Wikipedia, hit us up, debatethiscast.com or at debatethiscast on all the social medias, or debate this wherever pods are casted into your earballs. And also we sometimes talk about the MCU and other stuff on a podcast called Avenge This, but that's less important.
Honestly, that sounds like an amazing podcast.
It does
Everybody go
sound
check it
amazingly fun.
And I'm already looking for it.
Yeah, I'm bookmarking it now myself.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, let's just get back to the show.
Woo! Woo woo!
So today's episode is going to be, like I said before, a little different. So we're exploring the concept of, does your superhero even need to exist in your own canon? Now, this is not the same as, does your superhero fun, or is it, but if you exist in the world of this superhero, does the superhero need to actually be here for it? Now, if you're wondering where this topic has actually popped up in comics, and in television before, most famously, there's an episode in the original Batman the Animated Series called Trial, and in that episode, a district attorney actually asks and poses this question: do we need a Batman here? Because there's all these supervillains, but if Batman's are they just here because Batman is here? That is actually the question that is posed. Now, throughout that episode, this is a spoiler heavy podcast, so enjoy this spoiler from a show that's 20 plus years old at this point at minimum. So what happens into that is the bad guys capture Batman, and they put him into Arkham and all the villains of Arkham managed to take over. They set up a kangaroo court. The Joker is the judge, Harley Quinn is the bailiff, and appropriately enough, Two-Face, who is the prosecutor, the one who's actually is a prosecutor, which I think is funny. And the jury is made up of some of the top-notch villains of Batman the Animated Series: Killer Croc, Riddler, Scarecrow, and a couple of other ones. So throughout this, that she has to for defending Batman, though, is the attorney who posed that question. Now, granted, all they want to do is sort of have fun with this. Meanwhile, Batman, being Batman, is like, I'm buying my time so I can get out and escape Arkham and take these guys all down. That's the Batman way to do it. So they do propose this question, and when they go through each of these characters, they talk about their origin stories and sort of, I was going to do this crime, but I wouldn't have to be dealt to this crime if Batman wasn't there who forced me into this. And if Batman wasn't there, Killer Croc would have probably had a solid education on it. But throughout that and going through this debate for that, when the trial ends, they're like, and no, it's not that. The way that they see it is supervillains started coming into the town regardless of what's happening. So it wasn't that the superheroes created that Batman created the supervillains. It was the supervillains created Batman. The supervillains exist, therefore we needed something to take it over, and that's Batman. So that's the origin of where the idea of this comes. So here's where you kind of have this, like, let's take Batman for example. Let's start there. Do we need Batman in this place? Is there another superhero that could have probably taken over for this? Or is there something else? Or is Batman the reason why these supervillains are here? So starting off, if I'm taking the example from the comics and such, I'm going to have to lean with they needed Batman. Like Gotham as a city, as a whole, if I'm a citizen there isn't very many other superheroes that are not Batman adjacent to Gotham.
I think one of the things about Gotham that makes Batman as a hero kind of interesting is that the biggest problem in Gotham is government corruption. And so you need a superhero to fight that. You don't really need a superhero to fight that, but like in this world, you need a superhero to fight that. And I don't know that there are that many other DC heroes that are like that prime to tussle with government corruption and, have like $1 billion to throw at the government sometimes. I'm sure that those things are a little bit different for everybody, but I think Gotham is one of the few settings that does really justify some sort of vigilante justice on account of, the corruption.
If you go into some of the old comics lore, like Year One for Batman, which is an amazing comic, there is no supervillain there. In fact, they hint at the end that the Joker is going to be there. That's at the end of the comic, and in turn, that's in the Nolan films. That's what happens. Is like, yeah, someone's got the calling card of the Joker. Before that, it was mostly mob corruption throughout the entirety of the city, and Batman happens to be the one of the few people willing to punch out the mob.
Yeah, I definitely think that some sort of vigilante justice is probably justified, but from what I know of the Batman canon, from what we've seen, it's largely just like mob and like other, I guess, it's like a super mob, right? But it's like normal people crime. Like it's a crime that has happened in our world to a degree. And so like either they need severe reform, or probably more likely they need someone to punch out a couple of criminals since the cops are on the take and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know if we need Batman specifically, but I think we do need someone.
Yeah.
So I think, and take it as much canon as you will, but I think the TV show Gotham is something really highlighted that a lot of the crime just did come down to just petty mafia level crime. So I feel like that personally I'm on a side where that Gotham may not necessarily need Batman per se, because I'm trying to look at the entire Rogues gallery, and we're just trying to see like every superhero that's ever been a part of Gotham that isn't adjacent to Batman at all.
Yeah.
And I want to make a case that Gotham may need James Gordon more than like Batman himself.
I can see that.
Right?
You need that one uncorruptible cop, that one standing lying in the sand.
That one guy who actually is willing to do like whatever it takes to get through all that. Because even in the show, he went through some ballsy stuff. Just for Gotham, he didn't have to, but he did it. And let's be real, when that series got farther and farther, it really became a whole case of I did not sign up for this. Who expected Solomon Grundy to actually come in there?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Solomon Grundy. That was not on the monthly calendar for that one. The Penguin, sure, I got that.
Riddler? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But Grundy?
Undead Zombie did not see that one in my horoscope today.
All right, but in the end, I think it's like you guys say that eventually there became enough villains in there where the villains themselves created Batman because someone had to take care of all that. And for God's sakes, James Gordon can only do so much by himself.
He is one man. He can only do
He is
so
one man.
much.
His like at first was like, I need a billionaire with edge.
Well, and not to discredit Mr. Gordon's career, but I do kind of wonder if without the Batman, if he becomes commissioner.
It's hard to say. Because that's like a weird take for that. And it really, depending on who's telling the story, only like I think a quarter of it, he ends up becoming the commissioner regardless. So most of it is Batman gets involved, busts down, gets him a good record, and then now he's the commissioner.
I know that the Gotham TV show was brought up, and so I think that's kind of something I can point to where, like, for the most of that show, he's not the commissioner. There's another person in charge, running the show. So, somebody else can do it, has been shown to do it. So, like, without Batman and the success therein, does his career look the same? Or is he still, like, a detective, on the streets of Gotham, which would then, I think, merit the argument that he would have a lot less control and a lot less influence over the policies and the changes to the GCPD. So, it could look completely different depending on who's in charge.
I think it's safe to say, at least for this subject, do we need a Batman for this canon? Yeah, mostly because of weird things. But we more need James Gordon than anything else. We need that top at the top.
Severe political and economic reform is what we need in Gotham.
And you know what else? I feel like, at least for James Gordon's case, when Batman is around, it's also when James Gordon is just, he is just too old for this stuff anymore. He's just way too old for this. So he's still going to try to find some way to get out there, and at least needs like he's the brain of the operations, or just the one who wants to bring everything together no matter what. But at some point, he needs someone to be the field man, the guy out there. So Gotham may not need Batman per se, because I feel like as long as it has James Gordon would find someone to essentially just do his field work.
So let me move on to another canon that I think is going to be a little more mixed up. Spider-Man. The classic great power, responsibility. But so Spider-Man gets his powers, and my favorite iteration on this is the Spectacular Spider-Man. He spends the first year of his superhero career, busting down low-level crime, and most of what he deals with is so low-level that's one of the reasons why he's called the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It's literally like park mugging, sometimes petty theft, or something he can stop literally by 2 swips of a whip of his webbing, and then moves on. But then you kind of get into a weird case from his supervillains. So Doc Ock goes crazy, gets his body fused with the arms, and now becomes Dr. Octopus. Okay, so that's okay. He's just and it drives him insane. That's just a part of his canon. Same with Green Goblin. In fact, a lot of these guys are mostly crazy people. But to take it to a case, J. Jonah Jameson's one of his, villains on there. J. Jonah Jameson in the comics has hired and created supervillains specifically to go after Spider-Man. That's it. If the Spider-Man was not there, J. Jonah Jameson wouldn't have his hired, it's a good example, Alistair Smythe or the Spider Slayers. It's literally, it's in the name. God. They slay spiders. That's what they do.
Like JJ, are you having our particular problem with Spider-Man? No, what do you say? What makes you think that? It's like, I just want him dead, no matter what it takes, and I don't care how many. Who's this guy? I sure hope Spider-Man's okay, especially if he doesn't go through that light. Wink, wink.
But you also have characters like Scorpion, Matt Gargan, basically the original Scorpion. Same thing. Though originally he gets his Scorpion suit basically to go fight Spider-Man as a mercenary, and that's not unheard of. Even the Punisher, his first appearance, is going to hunt down Spider-Man. Literally, these guys keep coming out of the woodwork to fight that one person in particular.
Everyone wants to fight Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he just wanted to stop some friendly neighborhood stuff, and now he's trying to stop the whole town from hunting him.
I kind of feel like, in the way that Batman is sort of the quintessential example of you really do need this superhero in this world, I feel like Spider-Man is almost the quintessential example of not needing this superhero in this world. Don't get me wrong, I love Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
but the whole great power must also come great responsibility.
Right.
The whole concept behind that is that because you have the power, you have the responsibility. Not you have the responsibility, go find the power, which is kind of the Batman Bruce Wayne thing. Versus Peter Parker.
You know, I'm gonna give a quick hot take right now. In a world without Spider-Man, Uncle Ben would still be alive.
Oh, ouch.
I said it. I said it. Listen. Everything that always comes down to that is somehow tied to Spider-Man. Let's go to to the OG one. Okay, like Peter Parker gets gypped out of a bunch of prize money and just I don't want to stop that guy. Here's the thing. If Uncle Ben wasn't around the neighborhood to even try to pick up his sorry ass for wanting to impress MJ, that even wouldn't be an issue. Because you know what happened? Because he got Spidey powers and he wanted to improve a girl around. But you know what? No, he should have just stayed inside of his house and just been a nerd and just you know what? You'll impress her one day, kiddo.
What is it? There is there's a series in the Marvel comics called House of M, where the mutants literally take over for that one. And in the House of M, Spider-Man is a celebrity, but he has to lie that he has a mutant that has mutant abilities, and he's only a celebrity. He's only a celebrity as the fact that he can build certain tech. His brain is really what keeps him going. So in that canon, yeah, he has the powers, but he doesn't have the responsibility. And you know what? He barely doesn't even bother going out to do the thing on it. So yeah, Spider-Man is a weird case because it's like that was pointed out, quintessentially, if Spider-Man's not around, half the rogues galleries of his Spider-Man doesn't even show up.
And you know what? One that I kept trying to think of, because he's got to show up regardless. But what? Because I'm just imagining now. What would Venom be like if he just never attached to Spider-Man at all? How would that change him once he finally gets to Eddie Brock and Carnage and all that?
Mm-hmm. Well, Carnage would not be existing. So, because Carnage spawns off of Venom, and he shows up in the regular comic timeline is because Eddie Brock gets busted by Spider-Man and happens to be put in the same cell as
Cletus Cassidy.
Cletus Cassidy. Thank you. And so the suit splits and creates Carnage. So because of that, like if Venom's not with Eddie Brock, and Eddie Brock's not chasing Spider-Man or Peter Parker, then yeah, Carnage wouldn't even be a problem. And Carnage, depending on who you're talking to, is an Avengers level problem.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely can.
And like, what would the symbiote even do or attach to without the wanting to take on Spider-Man?
Well, I know
because he attaches Spider-Man.
In the TV show, right, the old cartoon from the 90s, it comes in on a spaceship. John Jameson, I think, son of
John Jameson Jr.
Yeah, the son of J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
So I mean, hypothetically, I suppose it could attach to him. I suppose. Does he become not Carnage or not Venom, but does he become like something akin to Venom? Is he
Venom-esque?
Is he Spider-Man now? Is that where this takes that leap? I don't know.
So it gets weird because the symbionts in their canon is essentially they absorb the abilities of whatever that they're tied to.
Yeah.
I think, and don't quote me on this one. I only, even though I'm a big comic-y nerd, the canon's huge. I think the only there's only like three major superheroes that are actually immune to it. Luke Cage, because his skin doesn't let the symbiote come in.
Right.
Wolverine, because it fights the symbiont. And I think the other one is like, I want to say Banshee, because the sonic screams that Banshee makes basically rip that thing apart.
I can't believe you don't know every canon. We're just now learning this deep cut.
I know every canon ever.
Name 3 Spider-Men.
I mean, I can.
Fake nerd. Jeez.
Peter Parker.
Oh, dang it.
Wait.
You got me there.
Peter Parker and the other Peter Parker.
Shouldn't have made it so easy.
You multiverse again?
We did a Spider-Man episode a couple of months ago that was like, what Spider-Man variant from the comics should be included in the MCU. Hey, have you guys ever heard of Spiders-Man?
Wait.
Man. I don't think I have. I know I've heard the name.
I'm just trying to figure out how to say it.
Oh no, I have heard of this.
Spiders-Man. Do me a quick Google on Spiders-Man. It's worth it, I promise.
Oh boy,
very good.
I know this one now.
If there's one thing I definitely should do is trust a stranger to Google some things on the internet.
Yeah, that's never led you astray before.
Not ever.
Okay, so Spiders-Man. Ew.
For those listening at home, Spiders-Man is a number of spiders in a man shape.
And here's what's really fun about Spiders-Man. I may or may not have done a lot of research about Spiders-Man once. Spiders-Man is actually Peter Parker because all of Peter Parker fell into a vat of radioactive spiders and got eaten alive. And then the spiders formed a hive mind, and the spiders think they are Peter Parker, but they're spiders. That's all real. Marvel wrote that. It got published. It's amazing.
Don't you just hate it when you're walking around and you trip into a vat of radioactive spiders that someone just left lying around? I mean...
Tell you what, if I had a nickel, Dane...
Yes, you have 2, right?
Yeah, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Don't you hate when you just trip one day and you just become a whole hive mind of spiders?
Then, that's a Tuesday.
No.
There used to be, it was a small-time villain that Spider-Man had to deal with, but it was like some school bully who ate the spider that turned Peter, and that's what happened to him. So he ate the spider. The spider ended up mutating from the inside, and it just started making into tons of little spiders in there. And then he became a Spider's Man with so many spiders.
Ew.
So is Spider's Man this world's equivalent of Man-Bat?
Hell yeah, Man-Bat.
I love
Got a big Man-Bat fan on the call.
You know it.
Oh my god.
Love Man-Bat.
Would you count that? I mean, Spider's Man is 1,000 spiders. Man-Bat is one big bat.
One bat man, if you will.
Now, not all of Spider-Man's villains will work this way. The Lizard, for example, is one that would just become the Lizard. I found it appropriate
Yeah.
because we're talking about Man-Bat.
Do you think so? Doc Ock needs Peter to finish the arms, right? In
That's
some way?
canon.
Does he?
No, not originally.
don't
Not in the
Most
original canon. Okay, because I guess I'm probably thinking of the video game where Peter's
in
working
the
as
video
his
game-
assistant.
Yeah, in the Spider-Man PlayStation video game, he needs Peter to figure out because one of Peter's skills is I think it's MacGyvering or basically junk tech, building high grade junk tech. And it's honestly not anything to shy at. Guy wants to build a tiny little design. You just give him an idea. He's like, I think I can put this together with 2 straws and that aluminum
my
can.
God.
I think we kind of see that in the MCU as well, right? I think Tony Stark comments on it. He's like, "Oh, like why do you have this?" And he's like, "I built it."
It is truly the box of scraps power.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, and honestly, I did always love that decision because one of the things is the webbing formula is all in his head. He can just make it and make a variance for it, but that's his skill to put these things together. It's the thing with that is like so in most canons though, Doc Ock still builds the arms, but the arms mess with his head because
Sure.
of how the arms are designed.
Gotcha.
In the video game though, Peter has to finish that, which also once he fixes it, also messes with his head.
Yeah, because they're kind of in the middle of it, right? And Peter's like,
Right.
"Hey, Doc, this isn't ready. We'll catch up later and we'll fix this. We'll figure this out." And
Yeah.
he goes forward with it anyway, and that's kind of I think what leads to his derangement.
Yeah. For the most part though, that's where Spider-Man gets kind of weird on this one is because if we don't have a Spider-Man, we kind of solve a couple of extra problems on this one.
I mean, Batman's kind of in that same boat too, right? To go back to that previous topic, where he's not necessarily, I guess, directly responsible, but his presence then equates to more villains showing up, right?
Mhm.
But I think Spider-Man is kind of that to the next scale, right? Because with
Right.
his
I
life,
can't handle an Avengers level, an Avengers place. That's a top tier, but I might be able to take down Spider-Man. And honestly, I think that's in a lot of the canons. It's you fight Spider-Man if you can win street cred.
that's a bold claim. Dude can bench a bus. I don't
Yeah.
want to fight Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, so like let's take the reputation of some of the other MCUs. The Hulk is the Hulk. He is the bench press for being bench pressed.
I mean, true. The Hulk's
Mhm.
powers bother me. They drive me
Yeah.
up the wall. He's a cool character, but gosh, the
Mhm.
swing on his power set is
Oh,
wild.
God.
That's topic for maybe another day. But no, I mean, I honestly think I'd rather fight Luke Cage than Spider-Man. And I know
Oh,
that's
definitely.
saying something,
God.
but like,
I can see it.
It's like, listen, at least with Luke Cage, you might have a chance with just skill.
like I'm not gonna beat him.
Because-
I'm not gonna beat either
Oh, no,
of them.
you're
Let's
not
be
gonna win.
honest here.
No,
but like,
you're not. But however, if you were to like, I don't know, make him trip and punch himself in the face, boom, knockout blow, I win.
maybe, yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, for Luke Cage on his own is actually kind of a special case. You need Luke Cage on the basis of where he is, not more of who he is. You need Luke Cage just because Luke Cage patrols Harlem, and there's very few superheroes that will go in that area.
But I feel like all the heroes for hire, like Colleen Wing, Misty Knight,
Yeah.
Iron Fist to a certain point, they're all kind of that
Right.
way, right? Where they're more, it's based on their locations. It's kind of like Teen Titans East, where it's like the Teen Titans in the East.
But they're over there.
Yeah.
It's like they're just also kind of territorial.
Matt, it looks like you've got something burning a hole in your mind.
You really got me with Teen Titans East because like the West Coast Avengers exist, but also like the Great Lakes Avengers exist.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is like there's like Spider-Man who kind of causes problems, and then there's Batman who just seems to like escalate problems.
Yeah.
And the thing with Spider-Man, I feel like you raise a really good point with the heroes for hire is that like Spider-Man seems like the top of the street level heroes. He
Yeah.
kind of is like the tier break point between street level and Avengers level. And I mean, like if we don't have Spider-Man, but we still have like Luke Cage and Daredevil, I feel okay. I don't
Yeah.
feel
Yeah, I'm fine.
terrible.
Yeah, I mean Shang-Chi's still out there doing martial arts. Like that's
Right?
awesome.
Yeah. Like Iron Fist
Like,
is trying his best, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing their thing, and let's be real. Some of these smaller street level heroes, they also got other people that come across the territory. Like, let's be real. I feel like there are some times where Daredevil might call Spider-Man. He's like, "Hey, man, so I got an issue. Kingpin's around, and I'm just a little too far. He seems a little closer to Queens. If you could do me a favor,
Do me a solid on this
it's
one.
like, hey, you wouldn't make a blind man go get him, would you? Like, come on, man. Like,
oh man. But yeah, so like what? But I think the tier of your superhero actually matters in this case.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man's in a weird case because he's basically in the set of internationally cosmic villains to the street level ones. He's right in the middle. But
Yeah.
if you're going with like Luke Cage or Shang-Chi or any of the
yeah.
heroes of hire, they're street levels on it. Now, do you need them? Yes, because there's also street level supervillains too. Most of these guys are surprisingly violent. Like, especially if you have someone like Kingpin. Kingpin is a
Yes.
problem on its own.
Yeah.
And this is a weird case where the villain requires a superhero. A superhero for this one is, and it's always brought up in the comics and even in the shows and in the cartoons, and even if you have a stand-in, because there was a Tombstone stood in for
True.
Kingpin. It's Kingpin, but they use Tombstone.
Black Mask takes on that role sometimes.
Yeah, Black Mask will do that too. The issue isn't that there isn't is that their power structure or how they structure themselves as a villain, because they have corrupt cops, they have corrupt law enforcement, they also have managed to keep themselves, for the most part, pretty clean. So what you need to when the only thing that they don't count on is having a superhero that goes after them. So for like Kingpin, yeah, you need Daredevil or the occasion to go in there on the basis that he can't predict what Daredevil does, and he can't buy him off. He can't corrupt him.
right.
He can fight him. That's a different story altogether.
True. Kingpin's terrifying.
Mad respect for Kingpin for being able to hold his own against most of these guys.
I would
Right.
definitely kind of put Taskmaster, right? Because the guy that copies people, right? Copies
Yeah,
the fighting
Taskmaster.
styles. Okay.
Yeah.
I confuse Taskmaster with Sportsmaster from DC a lot, and so every time I say one of their names, my brain's
my
like,
God.
"Is that the right guy?" Like, did you just confuse the guy who copies people's fighting powers with the guy who throws like shot puts at people? Like, no, they're not the same person. So yeah,
Which,
yeah,
let's be clear, one of those is better.
yeah, true, very true.
Oh, much better, much better. That was definitely kind of a short straw on villain gimmicks, I guess. But my golly, does it make it work?
You know,
But-
I will say the Young Justice cartoon made him more likable. I will say that. Like,
It really did.
they did some
It
work.
made me fear him.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm like, oh man, because when you stop and think about it, if he's a master at every sport, that means he's at least an expert to master level on like 5 or 6 different types of martial arts,
Right.
and he can huck a javelin at you if he just wants
Right.
to.
Very true.
I feel like okay. So Sportsmaster as someone who works in the fitness industry has a special place in my heart
Yeah, goals.
because how often are superheroes being compared to just like elite level athletes? This guy's literally every level of elite level athlete.
Oh.
It's more of a matter of what can't he do? He's more of like Batman with less personality but more jockey.
He'll throw a rugby ball at you and it'll explode. And that's novel. Like that's
He'll do it.
that's not
Like,
nothing.
that's-
novel.
That's
Yeah.
really dope. Cool.
But back to Taskmaster, which was my
Back to Taskmaster.
initial. Like,
The one worth talking about.
you know, there are some people that like he alone won't fight, but I feel like he does kind of fit that niche, kind of Spider-Man-esque, where he's got powers. That's not. I mean, they're not amazing, right? He has some powers,
Right.
but he does feel more like a street level villain to me most of the time.
Mhm.
And I understand he's brought in as like an assassin on occasion to take on some Captain America or some of these higher profile people. But I feel like he does kind of bridge that gap, like Spider-Man does, where he's sort of on the villain side, where he's I can like run a criminal organization and I can take down some street level heroes, or I can go fight Wolverine or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I can take these dogs on there if I need to.
Yeah,
So yeah, Spider-Man's a weird case. I think honestly, now this is again, I love Spider-Man, huge fan. I've read
Mhm.
comics since he's one of my favorite comic characters. Now, as far as in his world, I can give or take with not having Spider-Man. If Spider-Man's not there, as long as I got a backup, and they don't even have to be the best backup, like slightly lower tier, I'm still good.
Like someone in the neighborhood will pick up the slack. It's like, all right, guys, so we got a little extra in the Queen District. There's not really many guys from Brooklyn, so can you guys send a couple heroes that way?
I mean, and there's only so many hours in the day, right? But not to like. I don't know that we need Batman either, because Metropolis is stone's throw away. Like
That's
Superman.
true.
Superman has the ability to police both towns if he wanted to.
That's a fair look. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Superman can police the country
That's
if
true.
Superman wants to.
That's very true. Well, because I was trying to think of like heroes nearby. Like, it's like no one really lives in Gotham other than Batman.
Right.
That's sort of like his place,
And,
you know.
and that's his space.
Like,
it's
right?
Gotham
and that's
and
one of the reasons why
villains.
he works
Yeah.
there.
Everybody who lives in Gotham lives there because they want to mess with Batman.
Yeah,
That's it.
100%, absolutely true. And like I was thinking, so Green Arrow is one of my favorite superheroes from DC, and I was like, he could do the job, but he doesn't live there, right? So that doesn't make any sense. The Bat family wouldn't exist without Batman, so you can't have like Nightwing pick up the slack, or Tim Drake or Damian Wayne wouldn't exist, or would exist in a different way, perhaps. I suppose it's like just some rich kid's son. I was just kind of trying to think of like who you could get who's nearby, and I mean Superman. Probably the choice. I don't know if he's got the time. He's got a day job to do and stuff, But I don't know. It's a hard question. Oh my god, what is his name? Is it
The Flash could also do.
Oh,
it.
that's a true.
He's got the speed.
That's true. I was thinking the boxer. Oh my gosh. He's cat themed.
Oh, Catman. No, Wildcat.
Wildcat.
There is a Catman, but that's a whole
different guy. I think Wildcat would. I don't know where he lives. If I'm being honest with you, I've not looked up where Wildcat is from.
So Wildcat is from the why can't I think of its name? The Justice Society.
Yes.
So it's basically a Justice League-esque for it. So he doesn't have any real hometown that he works with.
But like, where is he from? Like, where in canon does he live? Is he in Metropolis? Is he? I mean, I don't think he lives in Ted Grant. That's his.
Ted Grant is his name. Yeah.
I just. He's the first person that came to mind. Where like, oh yeah, Wildcat could probably do it. Like, he could probably fill in for Batman, and it would be okay. He doesn't have as many toys, and he's just kind of a boxer in a cat suit. But
like, if you want toys and such, I mean, you've got Ted Cord, the Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah,
Blue Beetle.
That's true.
Well, no, Blue Beetle's hometown is El Paso.
A little far.
A little far from the Gotham.
I mean, where's Gotham supposed to like be per se?
Gotham is weird because it depends on your canon, sort of. Like if you're going with a lot of movies and such, a lot of times they put Gotham like across a giant river from Metropolis.
Yeah.
The way that it's sort of explained to me is Gotham is supposed to be more like East Coast or more like off a giant lake, so something to or akin to like Michigan.
It's Jersey, right?
Or
I heard. I always heard it was.
I always took that Gotham was legally distinct from New York, but somehow sat in the exact same geographic location as New York, while also being distinctly different from New York. Because I'm pretty sure that Nightwing lives in Jersey. Like, I think that's a thing in Nightwing comics.
Is in Bloodhaven.
I was saying, is this before or after Bloodhaven? Yeah, because Bloodhaven's like the worst Gotham. That's true.
Yeah,
which is saying something.
Yeah, this is the worst Gotham.
I'd always thought it was like New York, sort of the shining city. Like New York City is Metropolis, and New Jersey is sort of Gotham, where the criminal. No offense to anyone from New Jersey, but where like this fictional New Jersey where all the criminals live.
I like the canon that Batman lives in Hoboken. I think that's fun.
Absolutely.
Batman goes to the cake boss shop to get pastry sometime.
Oh my
God. I want him to have that accent, that stereotypical New Jersey accent, because I think that'd be hilarious.
Hey, I'm the Batman.
Yeah, like just Danny DeVito.
It's me, I'm the Batman. Give me some pastry, Buddy Velasco, on the Batman.
God, this just sounds like a whole what if verse if just if the Waynes just look down, it's like, God, what an ugly child coming down the river. Let's pick him up and adopt him.
You frosted your last cupcake.
I'm gonna get you, Joker. Just let me waddle over there real quick. No, I'm not a penguin. I'm a bat. Why do people keep saying I look like a penguin?
Exactly.
God damn.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Jeez.
Actually, let's take, for example, the Justice League / the Avengers, because I feel that they have the same prerogative here.
Same
They're a
role.
giant team that's set up because there's some problem that's even bigger that they had to deal with.
Right.
That's how the Justice League starts. That's how Avengers started. Honestly, you kind of need someone. You gotta need to have a group on there because something big is coming up the pipe.
I don't want to send Captain America to fight Galactus alone. That just feels bad.
Okay, here's my thing.
Yeah.
So, like, the Avengers and the X-Men both exist at the same time.
True.
Oh,
And
my.
I firmly believe that there's not really anything that the Avengers can handle that the right assortment of X-Men can't handle.
That's
Now,
not
I
wrong.
understand
Yeah, that's true.
you don't always
Uh-huh.
have the right assortment of X-Men, but, like, you know, like, I'm not sending, like, Jubilee and Wolverine to punch Galactus, but there are, like, 6 Omega level mutants on the X-Men
Right.
roster. Like,
Okay, fair
Not
enough.
wrong.
Like the right combination, that's fine. But that roster keeps changing. That's the real
That is
problem.
true.
so does the Avengers roster.
Yeah.
Well, true, but there's always at least
But
your
are-
heavy hitters that on standby.
I feel like we just need to see like who has a more reliable roster that could handle all this.
That's really it. Yeah.
Because even I'm thinking just like, okay, if we got like some really big baddies, and I'm like, the X-Men would really help out, but if I have a team that's like Beast and Morph, I'm sorry, like give me whoever else from the Avengers, because I feel like they would have a better chance for a lot of this kind of stuff, because it's just the norm to them.
This one's for you, Morph.
Oh. We can't all solve our problems with Wolverine. I'm just gonna put that
Well,
out
sure,
there.
but I mean, in kind of the same way, right? With the Avengers, how often is Thor absent because whoever's writing him has written him too strong? Like
Yeah,
Civil War.
that's true.
If Thor had been there, I think it would have been different, right? But
Yeah.
that fake Thor and whatever. But yeah, it's like, oh, he's in space doing space things.
He's doing Thor stuff right now.
So I guess I think the point is who will pick up the phone on speed dial if I ever need it. That's the real problem.
True.
Yeah. Who are the realest homies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like for this one, it really just comes down to X-Men versus Avengers.
Well, that is an interesting point,
That's-
right? There's a lot of discourse
Mhm.
about was Magneto right, was Cyclops right, was Cap right, and
Mhm.
different discourse to different effects. That's a contentious topic for sure.
So
Yeah.
we're in agreement. We need at least one.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Because
But-
there's bad things in space and huge problems. We're gonna need
So-
something on that.
Someone has to be here to help out because the problems are coming in regardless, and humans of the regular variety cannot handle it.
Although I will say, right, to a certain point, even without the X-Men, even without the Avengers, you still have Nick Fury, who is just a normal secret agent guy with sci-fi weaponry. And I'm not saying he's enough to stand up to Galactus. I'm not making that claim. I don't want to get dragged through the comments. But he's shown himself to be very resourceful. And so I think that even if they didn't have the Avengers or the X-Men, that he'd probably figure out a way to make it work. He's pretty good at that.
I could glue it together.
Kind of,
Something.
yeah.
He really is a master of just like, I'm just going to work with whatever mofos I got out there.
Yeah.
Now I think the Justice League is an opposite situation.
Hmm.
They are the top tier of those kind of groups
Mhm.
on there. Is the
Yeah.
Justice League.
Superman
And-
alone.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Superman alone can take care of a lot of
oh,
problems.
so many. He chooses not to, but
Mhm.
That's exactly it. So, okay. So, like, let's establish Superman's kind of an asshole. And we all
Yes.
know
Yeah.
that. Because
Agreed.
Superman
Yep.
chooses not to do a lot of things. Also, however, Superman chooses not to kill a lot of people all the time. So, like,
Which is
that's
also a good
thing.
yeah.
But if you just had Superman, you could get rid of 95% of every other superhero on your planet. Like,
Yeah.
just Superman alone, if you're looking at like canon over the years, is so insanely out of scope of everything else that's ever been created. That like,
what is it like? Silver Age Superman is also like so OP that like technically when they gave him more powers, they had to lower him.
Well, and that's one of my issues with Superman. No offense to any Superman enjoyers out there. I love that for you. I absolutely love that you like this character.
Absolutely same.
I don't, because for me at least, he's just kind of he's a multi-tool. He's whatever you need him to be. And I know that you can make the same argument with Batman. You can make the same argument with a bunch of other heroes, Diana and etc. Flash, but at the same time, right? Like they're like, oh well, the Earth exploded. Well, it's okay. He can fly backwards, inverting the polarity of the world and just turn back time. Oh, he needs.
That's a thing he did once.
He's fighting a fire guy. Oh well, he's got frost breath now, and like that's not a bad thing. These things are cool individually.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but like it's too for me. It's too much, and I do love the idea to give him some credit. Because I feel like we got to give a little bit give and take here. I do love the idea of like, do you know how hard I have to work to not like rip a door off its hinges every time I open a door, or rip your arm out of its socket, or punch you just hard enough that you're gonna feel it. I think that's a really interesting take, and it is a fair point. It's something I never would have thought about, as I'm not that strong. But it is frustrating that he has every tool he needs to be successful all the time, and the only way I feel like they knew how to deal with him was to kill him and then bring him back later, a little bit nerfed, but not much.
Not much, yeah.
No,
Nerfed for Superman isn't exactly. It's if I'm taking it for a D&D terms, he crits 2 through 20.
Yeah.
Don't worry, now he'll crit at 3 through 20.
Yeah. Well, I'll take it.
To that point, though, there are supervillains that can go toe-to-toe. Darkseid, Darkseid as your top tier guy, and the fact that that Superman still has to fest him out is always amazing to me. This is a problem, and you need a team of even by himself, Superman will go down, and it's been written in the canon and into the cartoons and such. He's gone down time and time again to Darkseid. So yeah, this is a guy who can take it in the face, and it's one of the reasons why I could go on and on about Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited's animated series, the way they do it. And honestly, the writers knew that they wanted to nerf him.
Yeah.
And they know that. But they did that for a scale.
And I want Superman to be powerful. I want him to be this cool champion, this hero, this pillar, right? I definitely want that out of him, because the Justice League kind of needs that, to be honest. They need somebody that they can stand behind. Diana and Bruce are great, but they're not enough.
It's
right?
like Superman's kind of like that one final big ace in the hole to make sure, just like, no matter how bad a situation gets, like, no, we need that. We have our own final boss to take on this final boss.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I was gonna agree with waiting on the whole, just Superman just kind of being too OP for little everything. Because I honestly, no, I'm seriously though, I like to joke around to like, as a whole, as a part of the team, he's really great. As an individual, I find him really boring because he has one power, and that's a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Like whatever he needs, he gets in order, because he just happens to do it because he's Superman. He gets to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. No, and I think it is cool that Darkseid exists, and that he doesn't he needs some backup on that, because Darkseid is both smart and powerful, right? He's sort of Lex Luthor to the next level, if you will.
Right.
Like the war world, even Superman can't stop the war world. He needs help to construct a plan or what have you. But I will say, right, like Mr. Freeze, no problem for Superman.
Yeah, Mr. Freeze is going
definitely not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chill out. And he's like, no.
I was like, why don't you?
I vibrated my molecules to just heat my body, and I'm fine. Or whatever.
I'll
all of Batman's rogue,
all
of Batman's rogue gallery goes down like a wet paper bag to Superman.
Oh yeah,
in one night, just
probably.
and like that, Gotham is now the safest place with the highest education.
Like Riddler, like he's over there. I'm gonna punch through that wall and grab him. What is the Riddler gonna do to Superman?
Yeah.
Unless the Riddler knows about kryptonite, then I guess maybe there's something he could do, right? But even then.
It's like riddle me this. What's green and red and feels like Christmas? The Riddler when Superman's done.
Yeah, I feel like he'd start into his riddles.
What can be inside?
And Superman would use his super hearing to be like, he's over there.
I got him. Nailed it. Yeah, so Justice League is a little weirder on that one.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's mostly because, unfortunately, Superman's a whole different tier on its own.
Yep.
I think even against the superheroes, still a whole other tier on their own.
Well, it definitely kind of
Yes.
reminds me of like Invincible, right? For those who've seen
Right,
the animated series, season 1 spoiler coming up. So here's your chance to turn away or mute it for a second. But like,
Stay in.
I'll be honest, yes, but stay in, but don't do that. This is a spoiler-free podcast. You knew what you're spoiler-free, spoiler-heavy. You knew what you signed
Like
up
the
for.
opposite. Yeah.
But no, there was a scene. I'd never read Invincible. I'd never knew anything about it. And so I was watching it on Amazon, and I was like, oh, this is kind of a fun little show. Oh, cool. The Justice League meeting. Let's see who these other heroes are. And then Omni-Man just murks everybody graphically. And I was sitting there, mouth agape, like, ah! Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's about what that would look like. Yep, that checks out. But I mean, he's a Superman allegory, right? He's
right.
supposed to be that world's version of Superman. And yeah, Batman, given enough time and preparation, I absolutely believe Batman can beat Superman. We've seen that in comics before. Frank Miller's Dark Knight was incredible. But, it's just, he would just dismantle people. He's almost as fast as the Flash, and he's stronger than, I don't know, super strong in that. Wonder Woman, he's stronger than Batman. He's he's good. He's great. He's
stronger than everything, everyone, and he's just the best one out of all of them. It's their own final boss just betrayed them, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, Invincible is an interesting case. Let's take Invincible for a second. You need Invincible.
Yes.
Omni-Man goes off and starts murking people. You needed something who can actually take that, can actually dish it out just as much. So on that end, hands down, you need this guy.
Yeah.
There is no, like, what is it? They have like hundreds of superheroes, I think, running around at any given time, and not a single one of them, even the more powerful ones, could still take on Omni-Man one-on-one, except for maybe Invincible.
Yeah.
Brutally, but the thing is, he's still there.
Think, Leo. Think.
Speaking of Garth Ennis and other works that he's worked on, The Boys. The Boys is the opposite. You need none of them.
They're all terrible people.
They are all awful. And if you go with the Amazon Prime series, super villains don't even exist because the boys are the ones. Because Homelander's literally the one who makes them.
If Always Sunny had superpowers, it would be the boys, and I stand by that.
It would be.
They're all terrible people. None of them are likable. Oh gosh, I love hate that show. It's so entertaining. It's so fun to watch. It is very interesting, and it is an interesting critique on the superhero genre. But then I'm sitting there and I'm like upset, right? I'm like, why am I watching this? These people suck. But I keep watching, so I guess they got me for that.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head with how I feel about The Boys. I am not at all familiar with The Boys canon. I haven't watched the show. I haven't read the books. I get the bit, like I know about it, you know. But for that reason, like my superhero media for me is my escapism, and I don't need that in my escapism.
It's hard,
and I understand why it exists. Like I understand
it has an audience. It has an audience out there.
And I understand the like almost the literary critique of the genre, but like, who baby is it not?
Yeah, and that I think that's completely acceptable. You know, and that's an absolutely fair point. And like, there are definitely times where like I have to be in a drought of content, which is harder and harder to do these days. To where I'm like, yeah, I could dig into some boys right now because like like the world is a terrible, awful place, and I agree, Matt. Like, typically I'm like I want to get out of where I am. And I want to escape to a place where I can believe in things, and things aren't always terrible. And if they are, I know that they'll be wrapped up in, a couple issues or a couple episodes. There is something comforting and nice about that. And The Boys does not really give you that.
No,
sure doesn't.
It just gets progressively worse as time goes on.
And again, none of this is about critique. If you enjoy a thing, you enjoy a thing. That's never been an issue with that one. For example, like, honestly, I'm with Dane's side on Superman. One of the most boring, with the wrong writers, it's one of the most boring and OP character that you have on that. On the flip side, I have watched nearly every Superman cartoon and canon that's out there because, honestly, I really enjoy it. My favorite one right now is My Adventures with Superman, which is just fun.
I've heard that's
and that's
good.
all. It's
Yeah.
he's a dork, and it's hilarious on that.
Oh my god.
And so like the thing is that do we need Superman in that canon? In that specific canon, no other superhero has shown up. So yes, on the basis of there's nobody else.
Yeah.
We're done. The Boys is a little different. I could live without them being around, honestly.
It's like the heroes are the problem. We would gladly have them not around.
Yeah, I think that's one canon where
Yeah.
like where their world would be better off if they didn't have superheroes.
One that it's kind of an interesting one, and we're just gonna pitch this one out there for you. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
Technically, you do need them, but you also don't need them.
Well,
Because
their
they're
creation,
created from the
yeah.
mutation.
Yeah, their creation is
Yeah.
what led to the problems, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's Gotham without Batman. It's just like criminal,
Right.
like mobsters, yakuza.
Yeah.
But like, wouldn't all the bad guys in there still be doing their thing, whether the turtles are there or not?
Yeah, but they wouldn't be like a yoked out rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it depends too, because like the Foot Clan is technically Master Splinter's rival,
Yeah.
not even so much
That's
the
true.
Turtles' rival.
Right?
So like with or without the Turtles, the Foot Clan are still doing it. The craziest thing to me about the Ninja Turtles is that Master Splinter is a rat the whole time. He's always been a rat.
Well, except for the movie, right? Or was it a movie?
Well,
or,
yeah, the movie.
No, the canon
Where-
for that one moves around.
where he was a
really?
person and then became
Yeah.
a rat, which doesn't make any more sense, to be honest.
No,
Right?
So he's either.
but the
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. The OG canon is that like he was a rat whose master, the owner of this rat, was a martial arts master who had a rival. That rival killed his holy shit. Sorry. Holy hell. I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. If you want to swear on this one, it's fine.
No, you're good. I got confused. I got lost in the rat sauce.
Yes.
So like there's a rat. A guy owns a rat. Rat owner has a nemesis. That nemesis kills the rat owner.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Rat owner's a karate master and the rat has been watching the whole
And
time.
learning.
So
Oh
now
my God, right.
suddenly the rat just knows karate and becomes the master nemesis of the Foot Clan as a whole.
Yeah.
So Turtles No Turtles absolutely still ninjas in the city, which I think is really great.
Yeah. Well, the only difference is that
We got a real ninja problem going on
Yeah.
over here.
Okay, hold on. This is starting to make me think of like a whole what if verse with the Ninja Turtles right now. Where what if the ooze, like, didn't get the turtles, just like the kid who had the pet turtles just didn't drop them and was like, whoop, I'm going to take you guys home. No. But what I could see now is that we know that stuff still affects other things, other people. In this one, I'm imagining Splinter just makes his own just clan of rogues that he gets in. So he just brings in, like, on one side, he brings in just like Leatherhead, why not Mondo Gecko? And it's like, listen, I work with what I got at this point.
Well, and that's just it, right? To kind of go back to it, like, even without the turtles, without the ooze, I think that makes that story even more hilarious and ridiculous because the Foot Clan are looking for a karate rat. Like, not a karate rat man.
Nope.
Just a rat that knows karate.
He cut my boss once. He's got to go down.
You know? Like,
It's like this entire Yakuza clan's whole purpose is to try to take out one guy's pet.
and like the
Yeah.
other way doesn't make any more sense where he was a
No.
man and then he became a rat and they're still like, we have to kill this rat. Like, it's a rat. Who cares at this point?
I was like, no, you don't understand. The rat's huge. It's like, I've seen the big rats too. I don't think it's
Yeah.
that big of a deal.
I've been to New York, sir.
Sir, I've been to-
Pizza Rat and I are well familiar with each other.
Like, you don't understand. It's huge and knows ninjutsu and has a shinobi clan.
That bastard's going down.
Like, okay, now we're getting a little specific.
So here's where it gets messy is because of your canon, right?
Oh,
If you
God.
go with the 87 one, doesn't really matter. Like, the man was there, but he's also was kind of a wimp when he was in the actual clan. He did like he could hold his own. He just chose not to, and so he was not even a problem on it, and then became a rat.
As one does.
But if you, as one does, it happens. But if you go with the 2012 one, he's not. He's a 6 foot tall ninja
Oh my
master
God.
who can go toe to toe with Shredder, and that was before he got turned into a rat. He is the
Jesus.
top elite dog on there.
Insane.
But You just call him for backup. He is your SWAT to your regular police. That is what you do. He is just the backup on there.
I will say, I do think the turtles are the root cause of all of these problems. I mean, not that they caused the ooze to happen, right?
No,
And this could have happened in another way, another time, another place with this company making the ooze. But at the same time, like if the turtles didn't exist, the Shredder wouldn't be there. Well, he might because of the rat.
The Shredder would still be
He
there.
might be there
still
because
be
of the
there.
rat. That's right. But like, he wouldn't be as involved, I don't think. He'd be running, his criminal enterprise. They would be recruiting teenagers off the street and doing whatever it is they do in that.
You would have
in
a
that
lot
sick arcade.
less mutants as a problem.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
exactly that.
No, at this point, the entire city would just be split between like the Splinter's clan and Shredder's clan, and just like no sort of shenanigans in between. Just because, now that you think about it, I can't think of any situation that didn't caused by one day the turtles were disobeying Splinter, and then stuff went downhill.
Well, I don't even know if like Splinter on his own would have his own clan, right? Because let's say the ooze happened, but the turtles didn't, right? Or maybe the ooze didn't.
Right.
Because if the ooze didn't happen, he's a rat who knows karate. That's where that ends. He fights ninjas. Maybe he wins. Probably not, though. There are a lot more humans.
Because he's a rat.
Because he's a rat.
Dane.
Yeah, because he's a rat, specifically. But if the ooze does happen, the turtles don't, right? But Splinter's still there. So now he's a rat man. Okay? He's still one rat man.
One rat.
Can you imagine,
Right.
like being approached on the street by, some shady looking guys or some ninjas is one thing. I can foresee myself being like, I don't know if I should trust you. You're dressed like a ninja, but I'll hear what you have to say. If I'm being approached by a rat man in New York City, I'm out.
I gotta go.
Yeah, like
This is weird.
But would a rat man in New York City be the weirdest thing you saw that day?
it depends.
No, you're still in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, have you guys ever played? It's an old arcade game in the 80s called Bad Dudes.
I don't think so.
So here's the thing. This is why I'm bringing this up, because this line lives in my head in their intro. The president has been kidnapped by ninja-related activity.
Hell yeah, dude.
That is your problem that you're gonna have in New York, man.
We have some ninja-related activities.
Awful lot of ninja-related activity going on around here.
Bad Dudes versus
Again.
Dragon Ninja. I
Again.
do know this.
80s video games are the
Yeah,
best.
they are.
Will someone go recruit Bruce Leroy?
Yeah. One that I really enjoyed, and actually it was an animation that made me pick up the comic book itself, Super Crooks. I really enjoyed. It's on Netflix. It's about a group of supervillains who suck, who are terrible at what they do. And they are actively trying to plan a heist. And Johnny Bolt's kind of the main protagonist. He's looking to, he wanted to be the hero, but some stuff happened due to when his powers manifested. Some accidents happened. Very kind of Jean Grey, where or Rogue, where he was like, yeah, me and my boyfriend were canoodling, and then he's comatose or dead, depending on what you read. Kind of similar.
Oops.
Where like he's swimming and his lightning powers kick in, and so it's not great. But because of that, he gets sent to like superhero jail and then becomes a criminal. He becomes a super crook, and it's all about him like getting out and then trying to mend his ways and then deciding, nah, screw this. If I can't be the hero, I'm gonna be the villain. But he's still like not great at it. It's very interesting. It kind of combines like the supervillain and the heist genre, which I really enjoyed. Yep. But I would say like there are superheroes that you do see, and kind of similar to the boys, but in a much less visceral way. They are not. Some of them are shown to not be the best. Some of them really like kind of are super into like beating up people and enforcing bullying and having their power over people. And then there are other people who are actually like good heroes and that sort of thing. But it is interesting to see this sort of like, well, you're the bad guys, but you're doing a bad thing. But the good guys are doing a bad thing, and it's more bad than the good thing, or the bad thing that you're doing. Are you the good guys? Like what is happening? So without these super crooks, their world would be fine, hypothetically. But it does kind of expose in the canon, from what I've seen, sort of the nature of these superheroes, and the world does start to change a bit. So they have a direct effect on their canon and on their world. I just enjoyed it. Shout out to all you Super Crooks fans. Hit me up. all 6 of us. We'll meet park, usual time.
So those are sort of the major superhero ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Unless there's some other ones you want to bring up. The only one I didn't want to go into, honestly, as far as superheroes, canons and such, is My Hero Academia, because that is the whole plot of My Hero Academia.
True.
No, the whole plot, the whole problem with that whole world is that most of the world has powers.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some people that are gonna do crime regardless. It's whatever.
So I will say, right, in the spoilers yet again, in the pre
Right.
after All Might arc, right? So looking at when All Might is at his prime,
Uh-huh.
he's a very good deterrent, I think. Yes, there are still supervillains, and yes, he is initially like the root cause of a lot of these supervillains coming out of the woodwork. But I think for like your petty criminals and your normal like everyday criminals, if I knew that there was this super buff, tall man who could grab me at any point in time, I mean, if there was a Superman around my city, anywhere near my city, he could be here in a wink of an eye. I wouldn't do crime. That sounds terrible.
And that's sort of the important things as far as these canons go. A lot of the times, some of them are deterrents.
Yeah.
Like how much crime is not like Metropolis has Superman in there. You know who's making any real major crime? People who can try to fight Superman.
Lex Luthor and its white collar.
Yeah, and it's most of it's white collar crimes.
Superman's biggest enemy is actually just politics, which is a relative to us all.
He's shorting stocks and buying high-rise apartments and reselling them for double the cost, like, and then doing like some evil science stuff too. Just credit to Lex Luthor, but like,
yeah, like there's a bunch of bad stuff on there, but statistically speaking, I would sleep well at night having known I live in Metropolis.
I guarantee you there are people in Metropolis who don't lock their doors. 100% there are people in Metropolis who don't lock their doors.
But you know what? At least in Gotham, you get a good education out of it.
I mean,
Gotham has a weirdly large amount of highly intelligent supervillains.
I mean, that is true.
Like, let's not check. I believe even King Shark has, a master's degree?
unless it's the Harley Quinn canon. Though he's a hacker, I think, in that one.
Yeah. Yep.
That's very fun.
God, I love it. Yeah, if you've not seen Harley Quinn is one that I do kind of want to touch on a little bit because James Gordon is what brought me to it. He is unhinged and deranged and absolutely a nut job. This is it's a farcical take on him. But I do think that, like, given James Gordon, if he were a normal person under the stress that the fictional James Gordon is under, he absolutely would have a psychotic breakdown. Why wouldn't he? Who wouldn't, in living in Gotham like that and having to deal with these yahoos out here doing crazy stuff? But at the same time, right, I do like the Harley Quinn canon for a lot of reasons in that it is for jokes, it is for laughs, but it does kind of re-examine a different view of Gotham from sort of like a villain turned anti-hero, but still villain type situation.
Like, there's a line in there, it's very brief, but I love it, and it's during an episode where Harley Quinn actually gets a chance, because remember, Harley Quinn has a doctorate, is a highly skilled psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And so she gets a chance to examine Bruce Wayne and ends up figuring out that Bruce Wayne's Batman. And then after they do all the therapy, she respects her. She respects her profession so much. No, I know who Batman is. I'm not telling anybody because that's doctor-nation privilege.
Unlike,
but also real quick. But also with that, he makes a point, and it literally goes like, honestly, you really should get some rest. Don't get me wrong. I understand we all need Batman here, and like if it wasn't for all the crazies going on, because there was a year that Batman left, and it was problematic.
Yeah. Kind of similar to that line, there's a line in that same show where they have Batman captured. He shows up, he's captured, Joker's got him, dead to rights. And Scarecrow, who's this sort of like bumbling idiot, which is funny because normally, Dr. Crane is very much so like manipulative and clever. But this is sort of like, he's like a well-meaning dolt, kind of Falstadtish from Shakespeare. But they have him tied up and they reveal that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And Joker's like, I don't want that. I didn't want that. Like, why would you do that? And he was like, I just wanted to see who it was. I thought we would, then we could kill him. And he's like, I don't want to know who he is. That's the point. Like,
It's like now I know he's just a moody billionaire with daddy issues.
My favorite thing about that is that Joker basically quits. He just sort of spirals out
Yeah.
for that one.
Well, because
Without the,
Batman, there's no Joker, really. Like, there's
Yeah.
no fun for him in
Yeah.
that.
and he's like, even when he has his Joker ass thing, he's actually tries to be a better citizen,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's weirdly good at it.
He starts running for politics, like a political office. He finds
Yeah.
like a wife, a single mother with kids that he like starts to raise. It's very out there, but very fun.
Mm-hmm. But like, and it's funny because like, no, they all recognize Batman needs to be here, but if Batman's not there, Joker, I'm out. It's everybody else that they have a problem with the ones who are doing crazy stuff, and it doesn't matter if Batman's there or not.
You know, I will say in terms of Superman and in needing to do crime, if I were a criminal in there, obviously I would not know that Clark Kent is Superman, so that's a little bit different. But I feel like you could probably notice that weekdays from 9 to 5 that like Superman's less around.
Yeah.
Just do your crime during the day. like
Like, it is a little weird to think that Superman probably does operate specifically on off business hours.
Yeah.
Like, if you do crime while the bank is open, you probably won't run into Superman.
Probably not, unless he
There's a
hears it
chance,
from
yeah.
across the city, right? But like
Mhm.
another thing that, and obviously he's got super speed, so he can compensate for
Right.
this. But the thing that
Yeah.
does kind of make me feel a little bit weird about it is like, I mean, normally in my working career, I get 2 15-minute breaks and I get an hour lunch. Like,
Right.
That's got to be problematic, right? If he's like in a meeting or something, like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom, bye,
Mhm.
and he just like leaves. Like, I always do really enjoy it when they do kind of harp on that, when his boss is like, come on, Clark, get it together. What are you doing, man? Like,
Mhm.
you were late again, second time this week. What's going on?
I do know that there's a comic in there or something like that where, as a gift basket, the Daily Planet gives him a bunch of like laxatives and medication for his stomach and like Vito and such, because they're like, you just keep having stomach problems, man. Maybe you need this.
Yeah,
It's really good.
it's really good.
It's like, hey man, my bowel's my issues. Just, but I can't imagine him just like sitting in the middle of a meeting. But it's one that he actually just has been looking forward to for a really long time, and he can hear a crime, and he's like, you know what, the police can handle it this time. It's like so I'm just imagining just like him sitting in a meeting, but just hearing a crime because of his superhearing the entire time, and it's like, okay, oh cool, Officer Rodriguez is there. He's a pretty good shot.
He's got this.
God. I was like, are you gonna get him? Ooh, hot situation. It's like, should I? It's like, I'm gonna get a promotion though.
Yeah, I don't know if he
It's
could help
Taco
himself.
Tuesday.
I don't think he could help himself. I think he would
No.
absolutely every time.
Like if you've got that whole I want to help people complex, and I've helped up enough people to realize sometimes you're just like, you gotta do it on the
And it's like, man, like maybe this is the day I look out for Clark.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. Speaking of speed, I wanted to bring up the Flash. You would not have that. You would have that same. You don't have that same problem with the Flash. Like in canon, the Flash can do his own hours.
Yeah.
If you're a criminal in Central City where the Flash lives, you're kind of boned.
Yeah, there's
Like, don't even
Yeah.
bother if you don't have a super power.
wait for him to sleep the 2 hours a night that he gets, and then maybe do your crimes. Or
And don't forget, he can time travel too if he wants to. So, like, man,
damn it, Barry,
It's like I thought they decided they need to stop doing that.
it's not great every time it happens. I think there was a something point paradox. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what that was named after.
like give it up for like Captain Cold. He's just really a guy with a cold gun, and he manages to put down the Flash.
Look, Captain Cold, I understand. It's Mr. Boomerang that I have a bit of an issue with.
Oh my god.
Sorry, Captain.
That-
I should be respectful.
No, I
Captain-
felt like for that we just need to give more props to him for us. Like, man, this dude has got some real like Joeys down there, just going out and doing crime
I just
with nothing but boomerangs.
I just like
I will give
Yeah.
him credit.
yeah,
He goes with a theme. He sticks
he
with
does.
right?
He absolutely does. But like, what are you gonna? What is he gonna do? Oh, he's throwing something at me. Oh, is it a boomerang? Oh, it is. Okay. Like, cool. This is a boomerang that tracks onto your heat signature and follows you with the speed of sound. Flash. Like, okay, I'm gonna run
it.
fast.
It's still a boomerang.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still a boomerang.
I'll be honest. Every single one of us in the Justice League is not taking you serious.
No one is. How could you?
Let's be real. Flash is one of those heroes where he has developed a lot more casual relationship with some of his villains.
Like it's one of his appeals is that he is a lot more, he will chit chat with people. He does this the thing, kind of like how Superman, like if you're a good Superman writer, every so often Superman does things for the little guy. That's one of the things that he does. He takes the time and effort. Batman's never going to take the time and effort.
No, absolutely not.
What time does he have? He's a guy.
Yeah.
He's just a dude.
It's like elves being like, oh, you humans are so short-sighted. Like, yeah, we don't live thousands of years. We got stuff to do. I'm sorry I can't move at super speed, Superman and the Flash. You're right. I have to get in my car and drive across town in traffic to get there, to stop the Riddler, to save the city. I'm sorry I can't just run really fast.
I'm sorry that's not a thing.
Yeah, because he's just a guy. Like, of course he's not going to stop and like rescue a kitten from a tree unless it's Adam West, and that man can do no wrong. But
that's a whole different.
Gotham was different back then.
You got the Batman you needed.
They needed shark repellent. Yeah. He had a bat helicopter. We don't talk about it. It was a simpler time. But no, like, of course he's not going to stop and like, help some kids play hopscotch or whatever. Like, Batman has no time because he has to like physically get to the places he's going, and then as soon as that's done, chances are he has to get back across town. Right. And sure, he's got a plane that helps, and I don't mean to say that like he's devoid of options. Like, he only has a boat, a car, and a plane. It's real hard for him, or he has to like swing across town like Spider-Man in the Arkham games. But like, that's still going to take some time.
Right. Yeah. Batman is never going to have the casual issue during his honeymoon of just like, what happened? Oh, it's a false alarm. It's like, do you have any idea how hard it is to run in flip-flops?
Well, that's just it, right?
And I was like, really? That's your issue? You were not even in the same state. You were across the damn nation.
Yeah.
But it's like, Batman? No. If there's an avalanche that happens in front of the Batcave, he is pwned for most of his equipment right there.
And even like, if Batman goes on vacation, he's on vacation. He will get back when he gets back. Like, he's he's working on it. Okay. He's on a plane right now. Oh, it's commercial. Yep. He's flying first class, but he's still on a commercial jet. He'll be there in 8 to 12 hours maximum or minimum. Like, is there somebody else nearby? Superman, Flash, Diana with her flying jet.
Diana with a flying jet and cannon fly.
Yeah, she's got both. I do appreciate that about her, and I understand that they've explained that in different canons in different ways as to why she can or can't fly and why she needs the jet or doesn't. But like, honestly, I feel like some days you'd wake up in the morning and be like, man, I'm not feeling flying today. I'm just gonna get in this invisible jet. Yeah, it's a jet day. I'm gonna take the jet to the office.
Yeah. I like to think that Diana's one of the few superheroes with flying abilities that actually thinks about her flightless friends, and it's like, you know what? Someone should take the initiative for carpooling.
I think usually
I should do it.
Usually it is her. Like,
right?
It's usually her in her jet, in the old Super Friends cartoons, carting other people around. It's not Superman like two-arming people. Because like he'll rip their faces off or something. But
like Wonder Woman is the only one that actually cares about like her flightless friends. It's like, all right, looks like we got something to go to. Anyone need a ride? Bruce. Arthur.
Yeah. Hey, he had the aeroplane for a little bit, okay? It's a dumb name, but he had it.
Oh my god, I listened to that freaking podcast recently, and I still can't get over the fact that out of all things, just like he stuck with Arrow's stuff. Quiver was right there.
It was right there. Nope.
Quiver's so much cassier.
Nope. Batman has a bat cave, therefore I have to have an arrow cave. I don't make the rules. It's how it works. Did you ever float that by the Justice League first? He's like, hey guys, here's the proposal for what I think I'm going to call all my stuff. And they're like, Quiver? Sorry.
No.
Arrow cave.
Sorry, we only do caves here. This is exclusively caves.
No, caves are bust.
What if I have a building? What did I say? We're caves.
Yeah.
All caves. All time.
Put your building in the cave.
Well, the Teen Titans have a T tower, and what's underneath that tower?
Cave.
A cave.
We are a cave club, and that's what it takes to get into the Justice League.
Doesn't Young Justice take place in a cape that has a cave?
It's a cape that has a cave, and it was the old headquarters of the Justice League.
Yeah, that rules.
We start with the cave.
It's all caves. We've uncovered the secret. It's caves all the way down.
all the way down. Yeah.
He's like, listen, Superman's Fortress of Solitude happens to be a what? Cave. Are you saying you're better than Superman? I don't think so.
I do love that
It's made of ice. It's still a cave.
They have like the Justice League like building above,
Mhm.
and then it's either a teleporter to the Watchtower or it's like a cave, like it's underneath.
Cave.
It's
Gotta be the
underneath
cave.
the Justice League headquarters
Mhm.
itself. I find that very interesting.
So, with that being said,
Yes.
is there any other superhero canons that we want to talk about real quick on that?
I think-
we've hit the. I know we've hit the major ones.
I think I got
Oh,
into,
yeah.
into my niche era with My Hero and Super Crooks, so I think that
Yeah, and then there's even more minute of those ones.
Oh god.
So, in general, for the most part, it really sort of depends on the canon. That doesn't mean the stories aren't good.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying here. But just, does they need it in there? Spider-Man? Maybe not. I mean, maybe
Like,
there's
there-
others that can cover it.
There's
The
nothing.
boys will be better off without them. I'll be
Oh, yeah.
I'll think.
Teen Titans doesn't exist
that's-
without Justice League, so that's out.
That's
So
true.
that's out. Yeah.
Huh.
And sometimes the heroes are the cause of the problems.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I guess ultimately the reason why you need your canon is your villains.
Yep.
Is these villains popping up as a problem that's going to be there?
Because
Right.
it would be a much different story if like Lex Luthor and Superman's rogue gallery didn't exist, right? He's just like working at a paper store, and then he goes paper store. He's working for a newspaper. He's not working at Dunder Mifflin. I didn't mean to imply
Yeah.
that, though I would watch that crossover.
my God.
Him and Steve Carell palling around. No, he works for the
Jesus.
newspaper. He does journalism, and then he goes home. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
That's a very funny thing that you've like concepted here is like Superman comes to Earth is Superman. Also, his rogues gallery doesn't exist,
Yeah.
so he just like writes for a newspaper,
Yeah.
and that's it.
goes home.
It's
He,
really
Kent.
fun.
he and Lois
24/7.
have a lovely relationship. They go on dates. They spend time together. It's nice, you know. Sometimes he has to like mow the lawn. That's a bit of a
Right.
chore,
Mhm.
but
That
No.
feels like the canon that the Super Pets movie lived in. I did not see that movie,
I didn't either.
but where it's
I
like
did.
Superman and Batman's dogs doing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's the
So-
canon that I feel like
So
that
what,
lives
what
in.
we're learning in the Superman universe is that Superman needs his villains in order to have something to do outside of his mundane day to day.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Well,
Yeah.
and like even as a kid, if we take like the Smallville route, right? Or
Right.
the young Superman, Tales of Young Superman, that sort of thing. Like without challenges to overcome and things to face, like he's just a really strong, really fast, laser shooting teenager. And
Mhm.
I can only imagine like what hijinks he could have gotten up to if he hadn't had the upbringing he did and hadn't had to learn that like, oh, my actions have consequences. If I'm going to say this
Yeah.
this bus full of kids who are my
Mhm.
classmates, I have to be careful they don't see me, as an example.
Yeah, and there's a future episode I'm working on the Superman allegory
Hmm.
because there's a whole lot to it. And if you're wondering why, Superman's the staple. As far as all comics, Superman's considered as the quintessential superhero. Some of it has to do with timing because he's one of the earliest ones, but also
Mhm.
that's sort of the pillar that everyone is on. And like we have with characters like Omni-Man or Homelander and such, they are spin-offs of the superhero of Superman
Right.
as an allegory, and in turn, superheroes on that.
I also can't help but feel that a big part, especially with Superman, is always the fact that a big part of his story is where does he land? It's like, does he land in Metropolis like the Flashpoint, and now he's just down as an experiment? Does he land in Farmville? Does he land to get found by a bunch of Mexicans crossing the border? Did he go to Russia?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how much of his canon is based upon where he shows up. But
Right.
And the biases of the people writing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this is sorry. I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to say about Superman, but I've got something that's completely different and out of left field that I've just remembered. So I want to
down.
give the floor. The tokusatsu genre of Japanese superheroes is some.
Oh shit, I'm in.
Okay, are you?
I'm so here
Let's
for
go,
this.
Matt. You're my new
Let's do
favorite
it.
person. You like we've just met today, and I can already tell.
did we just become
New
best friends?
favorite person. So one thing I find very interesting. I'm going to speak mostly about Kamen Rider, but it's also kind of about Super Sentai.
Oh my god.
Most Sentais are like that too.
They are right where their villains exist before, right? It's always a
Right,
yeah.
typically it's a
Oh
reaction
my god.
to the villains existing. So whether you're looking at Power Rangers, Super Sentai, or Kamen Rider, you know, a lot of the times the Kamen Rider, like Forze is my favorite Kamen Rider. If you know what that is, you're awesome. You rock. It's a school-based one. It's very like lighthearted and upbeat. But he's just some like weird-looking kid who a monster attacks his school, and it turns out to be one of his classmates. But he gets his belt from another kid whose father was developing this technology to fight these monsters. Like, the monsters happen first, which I think is really interesting because usually for us, it's at least from what we've examined, the hero happens first, or the origin story happens first. Batman's parents are killed. He goes and trains with ninjas in the mountain. You sweep the leg, fall into the icy water. Ra's al Ghul, just to quote one canon. You know, so it's usually the backstory or the origin of the hero happens first, and then the villains happen later. But in Japan, at least in these specific stories, the villains happen first, and the hero is reacting to the villains, which I find very interesting.
And I think that's definitely a different take for it because it's more of a cause and effect.
Yeah.
The way that we see it for Western comics and such is, again, Dane's right. The origin of the story of the character, in almost every origin story, there's not a superhero villain mentioned because it's not important. It's what they do with it. Spider-Man has to deal with the fact that he's responsible for that, and if he doesn't use his powers responsibly, other people could get hurt by that. Batman's on a quest for vengeance. Even Batman knows he's never going to be done, but he's at least doing something.
Right.
And Superman stands up for what's out there on the basis of because I have these powers and I can protect people. Even Green Arrow is in the most of the comic strips is for funsies, but you know I'm at least helping out the little guy as well.
I love
but their origins never have a superhero villain option on that.
Yeah. So I just find that that interesting.
I think kind of my interesting takeaway from this conversation today is that going back to when we talked about Spider-Man and the line of great power, great responsibility.
Right.
I think that most superheroes can be split into one of two categories, and it's either got power and took responsibility or had responsibility, so got power.
Yeah.
And it's not always like they inherently had that responsibility. Sometimes it's thrust upon them, origin story, whatever. But it kind of splits where, like, you know, you're either a Spider-Man who got bit by a radioactive spider and went from being the nerdiest 16-year-old in town to a superhero, or, you know, you're somebody like a Power Ranger who, like, you just got zapped out of the juice bar to go talk to a blue head man and get superpowers. Like, that's just it. That's just what you're doing now.
You were a teenager with attitude. And to exploit my favorite TV trope, because Destiny said so.
I gotta say, if Zordon was looking for teenagers with attitude, there were many more there that had, I would say, more attitude. The attitude to teenager ratio of the Power Rangers team is not great.
Yeah, it's off kilter for sure. Yeah.
Hulk and Skull were right there.
But I think that's really interesting when it comes to whether or not you need a superhero, because I think, at least looking at it quickly, if you split superheroes in those two categories, the ones that feel easiest to go without are the power responsibility, like your Spider-Man or your Spider-Mans. Either way,
Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man.
Men that are spiders.
I believe there's Spider-Man, possibly Spider-Men around.
the other side of that being the ones that, like, it feels difficult to say, yeah, we'd be fine without him. We'd be fine without Superman, the literal alien god from another planet designed to kick ass. Like, yeah, no, we wouldn't. We're not better without Superman.
I mean, he did bring Zod here.
Yeah,
but like that's one.
Like that's just
that's
really just colonialism, man.
But he
like,
took care of Zod. He took responsibility, and he had great powers. So
he did not kneel before Zod. That's true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Yeah,
and you go with any of the Sentais on that. Oh no, there's a problem. It's a real problem. We should really do something about it.
Well, I mean, gosh, like, there's an evil witch on the moon who's throwing sticks to grow monsters. Like, what are we gonna do about this? I guess somebody's
got to solve that problem.
Somebody does.
There is a quite variety of that because that is just like the first one. But we go into other canons of it. Some of them have literally just been training their whole lives just to be like, all right, well, it's not like I've been trained to be the Power Ranger Samurai since the day I was born, but I guess I am today.
Well, that's true,
Like,
right?
no, yes, exactly. You have like some of them in the future do it as a full job, like in the police force or Power Rangers
SPD.
in space.
Yeah,
SPD, yeah.
Time Force.
I mean, like Trey of Triforia was born to be 3 Power Rangers.
Yes.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
personally,
true.
I think one of my favorite. Okay, so I have a love-hate relationship with Operations Overdrive. Because on one hand, like story-wise, I feel like it was one of the most kind of lackluster kind of Power Rangers.
Indiana Jones is hard to adapt to Power Rangers, it turns out.
Right? But
It sure is, man.
It's like they brought 4 different writers for the Power Rangers, and each one brought their own villain, but they didn't tell each other, and at some point they had to make it work. I was like, that's just what happened.
Somebody was like, it belongs in a museum. We should make a show about that.
Yeah.
But what I love on that one is that one just went the most bizarre when it comes to the usual storyline. It's like, no, it's not someone want to take over Earth. And it's like, we also want to go on little heist adventures and do this. And it's like, well, how'd you get the Power Ranger team? Oh, how did I get the team, you say? And he had like a specific type of people in mind. And it's like, so this one's actually a master thief. This one's a professional race car driver. This one has really good grades. And this guy's a professional stunt actor.
I offered them money and they accepted.
And it's like, I was trying to find people with a particular set of skills. Like, oh my God, is Power Rangers turned into a whole heist movie? It sort of felt like that because the entire thing was just trying to find jewels for an ancient crown.
I just want Lupin Ranger to be adapted.
Oh my God.
So bad.
Oh
but
God.
But no, like kind of your point, right? Like the Samurai Rangers in the Japanese canon, they are the vassals. They are all the vassals of the Red Ranger, which I think is incredible. They didn't keep that for the American release, and that makes sense why. That wouldn't really like, we served your family for years, so now we're here. It's no, we're all friends. Okay, that makes some sense. But I mean,
it feels a lot better that way.
Yeah, absolutely, right. But I kind of love the idea of like, our family has served your family for generations, and there's always been like, we've always been the Blue Ranger, the Pink Ranger, and we've been called to serve, so now we're here. Like, you got it, boss man. We'll do this thing. Yeah.
Like, so how did you become Power Ranger? Listen, man, I submitted the job one day and then I just worked up the ranks. Now I wear blue and number 2.
You're absolutely right, though. Like with SPD and Time Force specifically, they have been training for this their entire life. You know, SPD is a rescue-based operation, very akin to our police and military forces that we find here in the States. And they have like structure and they have organization. There's somebody who leads them, who's a person. He's not some glowing wizard in a jar. He's an actual guy. I mean, not that Zordon's not a guy. I don't mean to say that, but
no, he's not really a guy.
It's really like quite the spectrum of just like, listen, either the bad magic, like the bad bad guys come in and all of a sudden just like, listen, we got to find what we got to work with. Like I remember in Mystic Force, all of a sudden just like, okay, so a bunch of kids who work at a record store just happen to be in the forest. Like, oh crap, we need someone. Who wants to learn magic? But like back to the one you're talking about, the forces. You just reminded me specifically of Power Rangers Lightspeed, where everybody was literally like, okay, Red Ranger is a fireman. It's like Pink Ranger.
I was thinking Lightspeed, not SPD. I misspoke. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, you know what? SPD. They were all cops on that one.
Yeah, SPD emergency. Absolutely.
And I was like, you know what? No, not Power. Like actually, Time Force. The Time Force is literally the thing. I was even thinking of In Space, a whole nother one.
Well, it's wild.
It's like it's either a job or it's just here's some powers. You better get to know each other real well.
Yeah, so their canon definitely needs them, right? Because I know that at the very end of Time Force, we see some of the Time Force Rangers be promoted into other colors.
Yeah,
which is interesting. They have like the stratification.
There was one actually odd enough in Operation Overdrive where they ended up making just like a ragtag team of a team of 5, but it was like 5 different Power Rangers. So they had one Dino Ranger, one Ninja Ranger, one like SPD Ranger. I love it because like the SPD Ranger is from the future, right? And Dan, I'm so glad you mentioned that they treated like promotions because even I was like, okay, so you're the Blue Ranger? Well, yes, but at one point I was the Red Ranger. And before that, I actually got demoted down to the Green Ranger. Yeah. And at some point, and it's like, but I worked my way back up, but I kind of messed back up. So that's why I'm currently the Blue Ranger right now.
Yeah.
and
Shame to put the Green Ranger at the bottom of the tier.
I mean,
and our captain is the Dog Ranger.
the Shadow Ranger. Put some respect on his name.
Shadow
Doggy
Ranger.
Kruger deserves better. No, but like absolutely right. I do find that interesting that in the Power Rangers canon, like they are needed to be around because if not them, like
Yeah.
Bulk and
Yeah.
Skull joined the police force with Captain
Right.
Stone for a while. I think it's like season 3 of Mighty
Yeah.
Morphin.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
Yeah,
not
something
Mighty
like
Morphin.
Three or
no,
it's Mighty Morphin.
Is it Mighty Morphin?
I think it's when the Mighty Morphins were ninjas.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
But like they joined the police force, so there is a police presence, right? But like,
Right.
who's gonna fight putties? Captain Stone?
Right.
Yeah. No.
No.
And I was like, that was not my job description.
I mean, I don't think
So-
we ever see him throw a punch. If I'm being honest with you,
I honestly, I think in the Power Rangers canon, everything is always meant to just like they need the Power Rangers, and even if there aren't Power Rangers will become whether there's like evil afoot.
Yeah.
Just to not sound like a Saturday morning cartoon.
The true Power Rangers were the friends we made along the way.
So I think that's a good place for us to wrap up on this episode for it. So yeah, if your canon can survive without that particular superhero, that's always interesting on the basis of like with the Batman's case, who takes over when he goes on vacay because he needs it.
Wildcat
Or
or the Batman.
do they have to tone themselves down like Superman because like honestly the whole story would be over in like 10 minutes
Yeah.
if he really goes to town. Or maybe they are also their own problems or the reason like people are going to try to step up and want to take the crown, and that's rough. But if you're going to do that, you don't need to go for the top tier, work your way up, just start at the bottom. Or if nothing happens, ninja related activities.
Ninja related activities. You never
When
know.
in doubt, yeah.
When in doubt, ninja related.
If you have the ability to be a rat who can learn karate, that would be what I would recommend.
Yeah. If there is one thing that I can confidently say will make the world a better place, it is teach rats karate.
And it's like, and if any of you out there currently have rats, now's a good time to enroll them in karate class.
Yeah.
Never too early to start training your rat.
Exactly.
Train your
True.
ninjutsu rats. All right.
So good.
So with that being said, we got this one wrapped up for us. Our next episode will be available in... Hi, everyone. This is Leo from the editing room. It looks like we got the original date wrong. Our next episode is going to be available on August 2nd. And now, back to the show. That being said, thanks everybody for listening in. And this is Gaming Theater Podcast logging off. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.
Gaming Theater Podcast is hosted, created, produced, and edited by Leo Garcia, the Geek Scorpio. Our music is A Drinking Game. Stock media provided by Stormwave Audio /Pond5. Our cover art is by Adam Parker. You can find him at ParkerGFX on Twitter. If you want to send us some money to help with these episodes, you can do so at patreon.com/gamingtheaterpresents. Want to send support that doesn't hit your wallet? Please leave a review with wherever you hear your podcasts and share our podcast with your friends. It really helps out. Thank you for listening.